So good morning once again, dear students of class 11 and also the revising students of class 12. Today we will continue once again with Act 3 Scene 1 of the Tempest, and today will be the second part of the video on this particular scene. And in the previous video we have finished up to the speech of Miranda, or rather up to the speech of Ferdinand, and today we will continue from what Miranda says in response to the speech of Ferdinand. And we know that Ferdinand is has been given the task of piling up logs of wood by Prospero, and he is busy doing it when Miranda reaches the spot and offers to help. And on the screen also you can see this particular illustration where Miranda is trying to take the log of wood from the hands of Ferdinand, which he is not willing to give because he doesn't want that Miranda should have to do the difficult task which is meant for a man. And after that they have a conversation in progress while Ferdinand is working, in which Ferdinand is remarking about the task being quite easy for him because he is doing it willingly and for the sake of Miranda. And then of course he praises Miranda where we had stopped in our previous video, praising her beauty, praising her virtues, and calling her as someone who is peerless and who has been created out of every creature's best. So hearing all this, let us see what Miranda says in response, and today we are going to finish off with this scene in this video. So I'm scrolling up to that page where we had left off in our previous video tutorial. Please open your textbooks on the page which you have on your screen right now. It's page 77, and you can see the marking which I had made with the pen where Ferdinand's speech ends, of every creature's best. That was line 57. That is where we had stopped in the previous video. So today we'll continue from Miranda's speech. Now let's see what Miranda says. Miranda says, "I do not know one of my sex, no woman's face remember, save from my glass, mine own." Meaning to say that she does not know any other woman in the world, and she does not remember any other woman's face. She has no knowledge of any other woman other than her own, because she has only seen her own face in her glass. Glass means mirror. So she says that I have only seen my face always, and I am the only woman whom I know from my own mirror. Nor have I seen more that I may call men than you, good friend, and my dear father. And then she further adds that I have absolutely no idea what other men look like other than you, my friend, and my father. I haven't seen any other man. So I have only seen myself in the mirror, and I have not seen any other man besides my dear father and you, my good friend. So this is what she says here. Then she says, how features are abroad I am skillless of. Meaning to say that I have absolutely no skill, or rather no idea of what people living in other places look like. So features refers to the appearance of the person or the facial looks of a person. So she says that I have no idea about features of people living abroad or in other places away from this island, because of course she has never been, in her short life, she has never been away from this island ever since she came here when she was only 3 years old, as we know. So this is what she says, and then she goes on to say, but by my modesty, the jewel in my dower, I would not wish any companion in the world but you. And then she says, but I swear by my modesty, which is the best jewel or the best treasure in my dower. Dower, of course, means treasury or Dower means what she has in her possession. So, apart from my modesty, which is the best treasure in my possession, she says, I would not wish any companion in the world but you. This is very simple to understand. She means to say that in the name of my modesty, which is the best jewel in my possession, I would not wish any other companion in the world except you. Nor can imagine form a shape besides yourself to like of. So what she means that I swear by my modesty, which is the best treasure in my possession, that I do not desire any other companion than you, nor can my imagination visualize any other figure besides yours whom I could like. So this is what she means. And then she says, but I prattle something too wildly, and my father's precepts I therein do forget. But then I am talking. Prattle means to talk too much. So I am prattling, or I am rather talking most irresponsibly and in a very loose manner. And in doing this, I am actually forgetting my father's instructions. So Ferdinand says, I am in my condition a prince, Miranda. I do think a king. So, as far as my status is concerned, Miranda, I can call myself a prince. In fact, now I think I am a king. And then he says, I would not so and would no more endure this wooden slavery than to suffer the flesh fly blow my mouth. Which means that being a prince, I would no more endure or tolerate or suffer under this labor of piling up the logs than I would allow the flesh fly to defile my lips. So, just as I wouldn't tolerate the flesh fly to blow against my mouth, so also maybe blow here means deposit eggs or pollute or contaminate. Just as I wouldn't allow the flesh fly to lay eggs in my mouth, in the same way I wouldn't have tolerated this slavery. This wooden slavery refers to the labor of carrying logs of wood. I wouldn't have tolerated because I am a prince. Hear my soul speak the very instant that I saw you dead. We move on to the next page, page 78. My heart fly to your service. There resides to make me slave to it, and for your sake am I this patient logman. Simple meaning is that I wouldn't have tolerated this kind of hard work or this kind of laborious task of piling up logs of wood had it not been for you. Because the moment I saw you, I fell in love with you, and so for the sake of you, Miranda, I am ready to do any kind of work, including this task which has been given to me. So, in a way, I am ready to do this task because of you. So, the very moment I saw you, my heart flew towards you to serve you. There, my heart now remains in order to make me a slave in your service. For your sake, I am perfectly contented, perfectly satisfied with the laborious task that I have to perform, and I have to carry these logs of wood. So I am a patient logman, a carrier of logs of wood, which I am doing very patiently. Miranda says, do you love me? Ferdinand says, O heaven, O earth, bear witness to this sound, and crown what I profess with kind event, if I speak true. If hollowly, invert what best is boded me to mischief. So, O heaven, O earth, he invokes the gods of heaven. He invokes the elements of the earth, and he asks them to bear witness to the sound that he is producing from his mouth, meaning to say the words that he is uttering right now. And he says that, O heaven, O earth, be a witness to this declaration of love which I am going to make. If I speak truly, reward my statement of love with a favorable result. But if I speak untruthfully, turn to injury every blessing that is destined for me. And then he says, I, beyond all limit of what else in the world, I, the world means in the world, do love, prize, honor you. Meaning to say that I do love you, I value you, and I honor you beyond all limit of whatever else exists in this world. So, Ferdinand asks heaven and earth to bear witness to his declaration of love, and he says that he loves, he prizes or values, and he honors Miranda. Miranda is very happy to hear this declaration of love, and she says, I'm a fool to weep at what I am glad of. There are tears in her eyes when she hears the words of Ferdinand, and so she is remarking about her tears, and she's saying that I'm a fool. It's really, really foolish of me to shed tears at what makes me so happy. I'm supposed to be glad to hear whatever you have said, but these are tears of happiness. I'm foolishly weeping. There are tears in my eyes, and that makes me foolish, whereas I should be happy to hear what you are telling me. In the meantime, Prospero is watching and listening, and this is Prospero's aside. And Prospero says, fair encounter of two most rare affections. Heavens rain grace on that which breeds between him. That's a very lovely sight. This encounter or this meeting of two most rare loving hearts. Both of them love each other so much. May God bless this love which has started growing between the two of them. This is a father's wish for his daughter and his son-in-law. See, Prospero, as we already know, never really wanted to become a villain, but he purposely tried to put Ferdinand into trouble to test him, and that is exactly what he is doing. But he's keeping a watchful eye on his daughter, and he's a very protective father, no doubt, but at the same time, he is invoking the blessings of God upon these two lovers. He's very happy. Things are going according to his plan, and so he's very happy. In the meantime, Ferdinand continues with Miranda, and Ferdinand says, wherefore weep you? Why are you weeping? Miranda says, at mine unworthiness that dare not offer what I desire to give, and much less take what I shall die to want. So Miranda is trying to profess her love by saying that I am weeping to think about my unworthiness in being unable to offer you what I wish to offer, and still more in being unable to take that without which I shall die. I want to offer myself to you forever so that I become yours, and I want to take from you whatever is mine forever. So I want to, but then I realize that I am very unworthy of maybe both. But this is trifling, but then this is nothing but idle talk. We are just talking meaninglessly, and all the more it seeks to hide itself, the bigger bulk it shows. She says that the more love tries to hide itself, the more powerfully it comes out. So this is what is happening here right now. The more I am trying to hide my love for you, the more it is coming out. And I'm sure the same is happening with you, Ferdinand. The more you love, the more you try to hide your love for me, the more it is also coming out. Hence, bashful cunning, and prompt me plain and holy innocence. I am your wife if you will marry me. So we see, so many centuries ago, William Shakespeare writes a script wherein a very timid character, a very male dominated character called Miranda is in a way proposing to the man she loves. Most unheard of in those times for the Shakespearean audience, most unheard of. In the 21st century, it doesn't really matter who proposes to whom. Sometimes the girl proposes to the boy. It's okay. It can be one person or the other. But in those times, women were supposed to be modest, and wooing women was something done by men to win their hearts and then propose and then be accepted. But here we find Miranda saying, hence bashful cunning and prompt me plain and holy innocence. Meaning is explained alongside if you have a look. So away with the cunning display of bashfulness. So I want to get rid of this bashfulness, because you are tricky. You betray what you try to conceal. So let me be helped by simple and holy innocence. Saying this, she says, I am your wife if you are willing to marry me. If not, I'll die your maid. To be your fellow, you may deny me. And if you do not wish to marry me, then I shall remain unmarried because of my love for you. I will die your maid. To be your fellow, you may deny me. So, if you refuse to make me your companion, your equal, your partner, but I'll be your servant whether you will or no. So even if you refuse or if you accept me, either way I shall become your servant whether you want me or not. So Ferdinand says, my mistress, dearest, and I thus humble ever. We move on to page 79. So Ferdinand calls Miranda his mistress and he says, my dearest mistress, I am your servant forever. And I thus humble ever. So I will be humble in my relationship with you, and I'll always be at your service, madam. You will be my mistress. So Miranda says, my husband then? Then you are ready? You are willing to become my husband? Ferdinand says, with a heart as willing as bondage ever of freedom, here's my hand. Yes, most wholeheartedly, as a man in a state of slavery desires freedom, in the same way I would like to accept you as my wife. Here is my hand as a pledge of my love. Come, hold my hand. He stretches out his hand to Miranda. And Miranda takes his hand and says, and mine with my heart in it. Here I give you my heart, as I give you my hand. My heart is in my hand. And now farewell till half an hour hence. So, now goodbye for the next half an hour. I will not be around here with you. I'll say goodbye to you right now. Ferdinand says, 1,000 farewells, 1,000 farewells. And saying this, Ferdinand and Miranda leave in different directions. Why? Because Miranda has secretly come to meet Ferdinand while he is at work and has offered to help, which Ferdinand would not take. And then Miranda is conscious of the fact that her father could be awake any moment. So it was something which she was doing against her father's wishes. And so she goes away and says, you finish your work for the next half an hour. I'll not be seeing you. I'm going. And Ferdinand says, 1,000, meaning to say 1,000 farewells to you, goodbyes to you. and then he goes away in the direction where the wood has to be collected from or has to be piled up, while Miranda returns to the place where her father is, maybe towards the cell in which Prospero and Miranda live. Now Prospero remarks, so glad of this as they I cannot be, who are surprised withal, but my rejoicing at nothing can be more. Meaning to say, of course, I cannot experience as much happiness over this love affair as the lovers themselves can, because besides the pleasure of love, they also have the thrill of surprise at this unexpected development. I'll to my book. I'll to my book, for yet a supper time must I perform much business appertaining. So, he says that I shall now return to my magic book, because before supper time I have to perform much labor relating to the completion of my scheme. There is much task left in hand. According to my plan, there are many things that I have to do. So I must go back to my book of liberal art, and I must chalk out the next few events which are supposed to be brought about. Why is Prospero not so happy at this moment, even though his happiness as a father sees no bounds, because he sees that Ferdinand truly loves Miranda? The reason is simple. Though these two have fallen in love, Prospero has to take care of the other characters, especially his brother and those who are his brother's associates. The King of Naples, who is also Ferdinand's father, and the rest of the royal party. So the next few hours before it is time for supper, he has to carry out many more things, he has many plans which he must execute with the help of Ariel, and that's why he says that I cannot be fully happy at the moment, cannot possibly rejoice at the moment, because I have to plan out certain things which are pending, which are in hand, and these things need to be carried out before it is time for supper. Saying this, Prospero also leaves the scene, and the scene comes to an end. So with that, we have finished with Act 3, Scene 1. So that is where we'll be stopping today, and I hope I have been able to make you understand the lines which you just now saw on your screen. So that's it. Thank you very much.